What is going on, you guys? Welcome to the video. My name is Brandon, and in today's video we are going to be doing a full walkthrough of the online investment broker Questrade. In today's video, excuse me, we're basically going to be logging in to my account, just kind of seeing how the back end looks, just kind of looking over the layout of the platform. We'll go over placing a trade, just talk about the different metrics, because the reality is, guys, I've been investing since I was 16. I actually work in the investment industry full time, going on 3 years now. And even for someone like myself, the layout of some of these online brokers can be a little confusing with all the different metrics and whatnot. So if you're a new investor, don't feel bad at all that you may not have the best grasp of let's say Questrade, and hopefully through this video, by going through the layout of things, it'll really help you out in just getting a better understanding of the platform. So let's go ahead here and log on in. I will just quickly say that if you do enjoy the video, feel free to drop a like. It really does help support the channel, it helps support the video, and I really do appreciate it. So once we log in here, guys, this page right here is kind of what I like to call the summary page, or kind of like the overview page of your portfolio. And right, smack dab in the middle here, we're going to have our accounts. And I personally only have a TFSA with Questrade. That's the one that I'm hovering over right here. If we were to have multiple accounts, let's say I had an RSP or a cash account or a margin account, those would be populated right under here. But like I said, I do just have the one account that I'm hovering over right here. So I guess for the likes of this video, we'll kind of just go through, kind of bang off each of these things. Like I said, hopefully it clarifies things up. I'm not going to be going through every single thing, but we'll go over what I think is important. So I guess we can start right here. This, of course, shows us the cash that we currently have in our portfolio. It's currently looking like I have about $542 sitting in cash. And this, of course, would be money that's not necessarily invested. It's just sitting here liquid, ready to be invested. Right to the right of this, we have the market value. And what the market value means is essentially what my investments are worth as of today, as of filming this video. So the investments that I hold currently have a market value of about $1,400. And to the right of that, we do have the total equity for the portfolio. So this would be a combination of both the market value plus the cash. And like I said, as I'm filming the video, it's looking to be just over $1,900, or $1,950. Up here in the blue, in the darker blue area over here, we have our unrealized gains and losses. And this kind of just tells us the performance of the portfolio thus far. What this is telling me, represented in red here, is that the account is down. Oh, sorry, I should probably turn the volume off there. That the account is down just under $40 USD. Again, to the right here, we just have another breakdown of the portfolio, the cash, the market value, and the total equity. Now, before we move on, I will scroll down here quickly to show you this section titled Pre-Authorized Deposits Requests. And what a pre-authorized deposit is something that you set up when you want to pop money into your investment account automatically. So I have it set up here so that every month $100 gets transferred from my bank account directly into my investment account. And this is something that I would absolutely recommend anybody that's looking to get into investing to do. Whatever you can afford in terms of your monthly cash flow. Whether that's $50, $100, $1,000, I definitely would recommend doing this. It's very, very valuable to have this set up so that it comes out, automatically every month, every week, whatever you decide. You don't have to make that conscious decision of popping money in. It is a very, very valuable feature. Now, to move on, there's basically two options that we have. We can click up here on this green button, this green trade button, which we will take a look at later. But right now, we will hover over this individual account, and we'll take a deeper look into the TFSA itself. So once you click onto this TFSA here, this is essentially a summary of the individual account. Now, the page that we just looked at was a summary of my portfolio as a whole. And it just so happens to be that I only have a TFSA, so it's going to be very similar, but this is a deeper dive into the individual account. Again, right here in the middle, we do have a breakdown of the cash in the portfolio, the market value, and the total equity. This view does show us a breakdown between Canadian dollars and US dollars. And at the bottom here, it does show us the combined value all in Canadian dollars. Right below in the middle of the page, we can clearly see this nice visual representation of our asset allocation. And what this is telling us is just the breakdown of our portfolio. As of today, as of filming the video, it looks like I have about 27% of my portfolio held in cash. I have about 38% in what's called ADRs. And an ADR is just the structure of some of my holdings. Some of my Chinese stocks that I own actually trade under what's called an ADR. But for all intents and purposes, this is basically, essentially, it's a stock. And then we have the remainder of the portfolio down here in green, which is representing the rest of my stocks in my portfolio. Again, to the right of it is just another way of looking at this breakdown. Now, scrolling to the bottom of this page, this is where we see our individual holdings. So it's our first glance at looking at some of the individual investments that I own. I guess what we'll kind of do here is just kind of go one by one, knock these off. I will quickly say, guys, that I'm creating this video to kind of just show you guys how I do things, and hopefully it helps you out. But this isn't necessarily to say that this is the only way to view them or this is the 100% right way. This is what I do, and hopefully by seeing my point of view, that does help you out. But I'm always open to positive criticism. If you notice I say something wrong, or if there's a more efficient way of me looking at something, please do let me know in the comments section below. But over on the far left here, under this little title or category symbol, we see our holdings. So I currently own Disney, a company called iQIYI, a Chinese company, another Chinese company called JD.com, McDonald's, and then Starbucks. Now, right to the right of this, this shows us the currency that these stocks are traded in. And as we can see, they are all denominated in US dollars. I know I did just say that I own a couple Chinese stocks, but these Chinese stocks do trade on a US exchange, and that's why it's represented here in US dollars. Now, right next to this cost basis, this is a prime example of something that I'm not entirely sure on, to be completely honest with you guys. If you do know what this BK stands for, please do let me know in the comments section below. But this is something that isn't too relevant for me as an investor. To the right of this, it shows us the asset type. So all 5 of these assets are stocks, but like I said, these are structured as ADRs. If I were to be investing in, let's say, an ETF, like an exchange traded fund, maybe a mutual fund, or some fixed income like bonds, those are all different asset types, and those would likely be reflected right here. Now, to the right of this category, we have the quantity. And what this is telling us is the quantity of shares that we own. So I currently own about 1 share, not about, I own 1 share of Disney. I own 13 shares of iQIYI, 10 of JD.com, 2 shares of McDonald's, and 1 share of Starbucks. Now, to the right of this, we see here cost per share. And what this is telling us is essentially what we would call our cost basis. This is telling us how much we paid to get into our position here, or how much we paid for our stocks. And I apologize if I didn't really explain that as clear as I was hoping. But what this is telling me is that the 1 share of Disney that I bought it at $105, right? It was the cost per share that I got in at. Now, the position cost right below shows the total cost of my entire position. And for this particular holding, like I said, I only have 1 share at $105, which means my entire position cost is $105. Now, to the right of this, we have the market price. So I bought Disney at $105. Now, as I'm filming this video, Disney is currently trading at $116. So that's what the market price means. It means what the stock is currently trading at. In other words, the market value of my Disney position is up now to about $116, which is a profit or loss of $10.66. Or another way of looking at that is I'm up about 10.12% on my position. So this category right here under PL, these are going to be shown in dollar form, so a numerical value. To the right of that, we're going to have the percentage return. All right, so very important to know the difference between those two. And then to the very right of the page, we have this titled percentage of portfolio. So this just tells me that Disney represents about 10% of my entire portfolio as a whole. And we could just move on here. And I apologize if I'm boring you guys here, but I will just go through one more quick example just to kind of dial it in. Let's take a look at JD.com. So with JD.com, I own about 10 shares of JD. I bought the stock at about $28.60, which means my position cost, 10 shares at $28, is $286. Okay. Now, as I'm filming this video, JD has currently slid. The share price has dropped down and is now trading at about $23 or $24. I'll call it $23 here. Meaning that the market cap of my position, or the market value of my position, I should say, is now $238. So it was $286. It's slid down to $238. In other words, I've lost about $47 on this position, which is down about 16.47%. And again, this position represents about 21% of my total portfolio. So let's move on, guys, to the next page. That kind of wraps it up for this little summary page of the individual account. But let's head over here to this big green trade button, because if you've looked into Questrade, done a bit of research, you very likely may have encountered this page. You've seen people talking about it. Oh my God, what is this? I'm gonna skip over here. And sorry about that. And this is a page that you should be very familiar with, because what's important about this page is this is where you will spend your time when you're placing your trades. And that's this little column over here titled order entry. And in the stock market, when it comes to investing, when you want to place a trade, it's technically called an order. You're sending an order to the stock market, to the stock exchange, saying, hey, I'd like to buy or sell this or that stock. So that's why it says here order entry. And let's just go through a quick example here on how to place a trade. In this little search bar, let's just type in the company Disney. Right here, highlighted in blue, we have these two options. What this is telling us is that we're currently toggled under stock. That's what STK stands for. You can switch over here if you'd like to trade options. But for the likes of this video, we'll keep it on stock, all right? For beginners, this is likely what you will be using. You won't ever have to change this unless you are looking to trade options. Right below, we have populated here the ticker. So Disney trades under the ticker DIS. We have the name of the company here. And this little NYSE stands for the New York Stock Exchange. So this is telling us what exchange Disney trades on. It happens to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. Right below, we have some details regarding the stock price. We have the last price, the bid, and the ask. So this is basically the difference between the price you'd be paying if you're buying the stock versus selling the stock. But let's just go ahead here and punch in the quantity in this little mock order. So let's say, for example, we want to purchase 5 shares of Disney. Right below, we do have to choose what type of order we want to place. And the two very common orders would be a limit order and then a market order. So a limit order is the type of order that you'd place when you know exactly the price you want to pay. So if you want to buy Disney at a given price, you don't want to pay any more or any less, you would go ahead and place a limit order. Now, the other option that you have is the market order. And this, for all intents and purposes, is a much more simple order you can place. What the market order is, that just means that whatever the market price is, whatever the stock's currently trading at, you're just going to pay that current price. And I typically do like to use market orders, but it really depends on what you like to do. Right below here, we have the duration. We're going to leave this today. What this is telling us is that our order will be valid through the end of the trading day. And then below, we do have the account that we're trading in. So always double check that you're trading in the right account here. If everything looked good in this little order entry column, you would then just click whether you want to buy or sell the stock. Let's just go ahead here and say we want to buy the stock. Anytime you go to place an order, this little confirmation sheet is going to pop up. What this is telling us is we want to buy 5 shares of Disney at the market. So that's at the market price. Right below, it's just giving us a little notice here that we don't have enough buying power for this order. In other words, I don't have enough money in the account. To enter this order, try reducing the quantity, so buy less shares. Deposit more funds. This is just, like I said, a mock order, guys. So, you probably won't encounter this if you have sufficient funds, but you just want to go over here and double check that everything looks good, that you're trading in the right account here. The trade value, 5 shares at $117 is the equivalent to $585 USD. We have the $4.95 commission, which is very standard with Questrade. Something that you absolutely do need to be aware about. And down below here, this is something that I don't pay too much attention to. These 4 different categories or lines here. This is just basically telling us how much money we're going to be having left after our trade. And I forgot to mention in the previous section when we looked at the holdings in my account, when you do see these brackets in the financial industry and the investment industry, what this is telling us is negative, right? Brackets represent a negative. They don't like using the negative sign. That's very standard across the investment industry. So this is just telling us how much money we will have left after the trade. Again, as always, guys, just make sure that you have the sufficient cash to place and execute the order. If everything did look good here, you would just go ahead and click send order, and then your order would be executed. Now, for the likes of this video, of course, I'm just going to click here, do not send. It shows us here another breakdown between Canadian dollars, US dollars. It shows us all in Canadian and all in USD. So I guess we can quickly go over this. What this is telling us is that I currently have about $214 sitting in cash in Canadian dollars. I have about $250 sitting in US dollars, which is a total, and you can look at it here either all in Canadian or all in USD. So it is nice to see the difference here between the two currencies, right? Depending on what types of stocks you're trading. Market value, I don't currently own any Canadian stocks in my portfolio. That's why we see the 0 here. I own about $1,000 worth of US stocks. That's what their current market value is, which is the equivalent of about $1,400 after the conversion. Or of course, is the equivalent to $1,089, the same here in USD. Up at the top of the page in this light blue area, we have a little representation here of our profit and loss for the day. So as of today's trading day, the markets are closed as I'm filming this video. It's 6 p.m. here in Vancouver. But on today's trading day, I was down about 0.11%. Another way of looking at this down here is under this little column or section titled profit and loss. I don't typically look at this closed section. I'll get back to that in a second. But here we do have, again, the profit and loss for the day, 0.11%, which is down about $1.18 USD. So this section right here is what I look at in terms of seeing how my portfolio performed on the day. This section up here, it's showing that I'm up about $117 USD. This is showing both your opened and closed positions, which can be a little bit confusing. I don't know necessarily why it shows that, because to me, what's only relevant is my open positions, right? It doesn't matter to me on the positions that I've closed, so the stocks that I've sold, how they're doing. I will typically look down at these two columns right here. That's my piece of advice to you guys, is just to kind of look over here. Right to the right, it shows us our daily orders. If we had any orders that were opened or closed today, I didn't place any orders today, and that's why we see here 2 goose eggs. Now, before we move on to these tabs over here, we're not going to go through all of them because, as you'll see very quickly, a few of these, you don't end up using all too often. But I will just talk about this bar here on the left. With Questrade, you do have the option to create a watch list, to monitor your stocks. You can look up some individual stocks. There's a tab here for options, news, and alerts. I personally don't use these. So for this video, I apologize. I'm not going to be going into these. I personally believe that there are better apps out there. There are better programs and platforms for having a watch list, for doing your research on stocks. I'm not necessarily using Questrade to do my research. I'm using Questrade to place my trades. I'm using it as my broker. So I don't use these, and I will not be going to them into the video. If you would like me to, leave a comment down below, and hey, maybe I can do an update. But these are pretty self-explanatory over on the left. Let's click over here to the positions tab, and this is just another way of seeing the breakdown of our portfolio. One thing that we will notice here is that some of the numbers are slightly off. There's a few discrepancies from the first page that we looked at. An example here is with Disney. If you can recall, our cost basis, or our average price, which is essentially our cost per share, I believe that was up at about $105. Now here it's reflecting $100. So, don't ask me why it shows this. The reality is that the way that I invest as a long-term investor, I'm not concerned with the exact price that I got in at by the dollar, by the cent. As a long-term investor, I'm more concerned with buying quality companies, companies that I could hold for 10, 15, 20 plus years. So I'm not, looking at this religiously. I know some people are, maybe if you're more into day trading or quick trading where these prices are relevant. But for me, not so much of an issue, but we will quickly just go over this again. This shows us the open quantity. So how many shares we have open right now. Again, I have one share of Disney. We see this 21 down here because I did sell some shares of iQIYI a while back. IQ, the stock that I'm hovering over. So that's the only stock that I've ever sold in this portfolio, and that's what it means to have this closed quantity. Again, the average price that we got into with these shares, the current price, and then the market value of our position. Again, the percentage of the portfolio, and then it's just showing us the profit and loss. Again, this is showing us what positions we currently have open. And this is, again, showing the closed positions. So the only position that I have closed was iQIYI, where I made about $107. Let's quickly go over here. This is probably the last tab that we will look at because the executions tab, very bare. I didn't place any executions here. You can kind of toggle this to, like, let's say a 3-month, and it'll show you some of the trades that you placed that were executed. Just kind of like a little history, activity. Another way of just looking at all the activity going on in your account. I don't really find myself using these tabs, but the orders one is one that you can look at. Let's again toggle this to a 3-month position, or a 3-month time frame, and this does show us a history of the orders that we place, so the trades that we've made. As we can see with these little green dots, or represented in green here, these were ones that were successfully executed. So here was a buy, here was a sell. In red, what this is telling us is something went wrong with the trade. You either canceled it or the trade failed for whatever reason. But this is just a way of looking back at your historical trades. But that does kind of bring us towards the end of at least this interface here. This to me is where you will spend most of your time, and is probably where you should get most familiar with, because like I said, this is where the trades are going to happen. I will just go back here to the first page that we looked at. So I'm going to go to my accounts page. And the last thing that I will show you guys is... yeah, I guess we can quickly go over here just to see a way of looking at the performance of your account. So if you do click up on this investment summary tab, this is going to bring us back to the summary of our TFSA. So this was the second page that we looked at. And up at the top under this quick links section, you can click here, investment return. And this is going to give us a little breakdown of the performance of our portfolio. Again, guys, I really don't monitor this so much, so I'm actually looking at this like on the fly, as I'm filming this video. But what this is telling us is since inception, so since my account was opened, I opened my account earlier this year. I forget the exact month, but in 2018, my portfolio as a whole is up about 25.2%. You can break it down here between the months, the years. Let's take a look here. This is showing us, I guess, in March. March of 2018, I had a return of about 15.6%. April, the account was up 1%. May up 9.2%, June up 15.9%, and then July, August, and September have all been in the negative territories. That's below this little zero line here. And that's largely in part because some of my larger holdings, the Chinese companies, have taken big hits with this whole geopolitical tension going on with the trade wars and whatnot. But that doesn't concern me. I'm completely fine with that. I guess, guys, that will wrap it up for this quick review. I hope that this was able to clear things up. If you are still looking for more information on Questrade, I did do a video a few months back, not that long ago, maybe a couple months back, on the pros and cons of the Questrade broker. I'll put that in the description for you guys below. I think that it's a really nice video. It's starting to pick up some traction, so definitely go check that out. But to summarize, Questrade is a broker that I do recommend here to any friends or anybody online in Canada that's looking to invest. At $4.95, that to me is very reasonable commissions. If you go invest with the banks or some other brokers, it's very common that you'd see commissions up in like the $9.95 range. So $4.95 is something that I can absolutely live with. If you are considering signing up with Questrade and you don't have an account yet, I would definitely recommend use my link that I will include in the description below. If you do sign up through my link, you will get your first $50 in trades commission free. So definitely worth doing rather than just signing up by itself. Like I said, I'll put that in the description below, but that will wrap it up for today's overview. If you enjoyed the video, again, I would really appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, and I am very active on this channel. I try to get to every comment, so if there's something that I missed or something that you're still a little unsure of, leave it down in the comment section below. I'll do the best that I can to answer it. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, definitely consider doing so. I post a video every Monday just on stocks to buy, reviews like this, just anything related to the investment industry. If you are interested in seeing my personal portfolio, seeing the breakdown of the stocks that I own, keeping up to date with any trades that I place going forward, be sure to check out our private membership group, Brandon's Buys. I will put that in the description for you guys below, but that'll wrap it up for today's video. As always, I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.